Speaker. Before I begin to speak today, it's appropriate that I declare an interest as Chair of the All-Party Group for Textiles and Fashion, and also express my thanks to Heather Lafferty and Tamara Clinic of the Fashion Roundtable and Chantal de Villiers from British Retail Consortium from their important work campaigning right across the United Kingdom on these matters. One of the positives to come out of this pandemic has surely been the celebration of heroes within our local communities, our care homes, schools, and our NHS. But we do not often think of retailers, shop owners, or small businesses across the UK as some of the heroes of this pandemic, but in reality we should. When we boil down the pandemic to its simplest principles, we see shops and local businesses doing everything they can, even to the point of closure, so that we can keep the most vulnerable in our communities safe. Many of these same businesses will be the first to face the economic and employment consequences of a 7.3% decrease in non-EU visitors to the UK, which is what is predicted by the Centre for Economics and Business Research as a result of the government scrapping of the VAT retail export scheme. So it would be remiss of me, as Chair of the All-Party Group for Textiles, not to focus my remarks today on the impact of this decision upon the textile and fashion industry across Scotland and across the United Kingdom. The government has indeed gone to great lengths to stress its commitment to levelling up the economy out of this pandemic and to boosting the economic performance of cities and regions of the United Kingdom way beyond London. In its exit from VAT retail export scheme, however, it would appear that this government has fallen at the first hurdle. The Evening Standard reported before Christmas that £500 million of tax-free shopping takes place in over 12,000 stores outside of London each year. Fashion Roundtable estimates the fashion industry in Scotland is made up of over nearly 2,000 businesses and employs 30,000 people. In 2019, £92 million in VAT-free fashion purchases were made in Edinburgh, and a further £23 million in VAT-free purchases were made in Glasgow and surrounding areas. Each of these purchases supports our high streets, supports businesses and supports jobs. Our high streets that need every purchase in order to survive at this time, our businesses that are at the heart of local communities, and our jobs that help to provide for families and for loved ones. Hundreds of employees in my East Kilbride constituency are currently reeling already from the announcement of Boohoo's takeover of Debenhams and of the lack of investment in brick and mortar stores in our town centres. Every single one of them is facing untold uncertainty as to what the future holds, so government must support the recovery of retail. It's my very present fear, Madam Deputy Speaker, that thousands more will be affected across Scotland if we fail to do everything in our power to support our high streets and those who work in them. Tourism is indeed the beating heart of our high streets and the fashion industry as a whole. However, tourists in search of high-end purchases from UK stores will show retailers and those employed by them very little loyalty if there's an ample incentive to shop elsewhere. Scottish Enterprise estimates the tourist industry in Scotland is made up of 15,000 companies employing 218,000 people. That's 15,000 companies and 218,000 people whose businesses and jobs could be potentially affected as a consequence of tourists choosing to shop and visit elsewhere. For my local area and region surrounding the constituency, that's close to 30,000 people. The ripple effect of this decision to leave the VAT retail export scheme cannot be understated. Tourists have come to the UK in search of retail purchases, and in the duration of their stay, let's not forget they experience, visit, and most importantly for our debate here today, buy so much more. We will lose their businesses to other destinations who continue to offer VAT-free shopping. There are so many whose livelihoods depend on the distinctiveness and renown that comes from being branded, Madam Deputy Speaker, with the label Made in Scotland, whose inspiration, flavour, taste or beauty cannot be found anywhere else in the world. These are businesses and jobs that are heavily dependent on the tourist trade. We have had their businesses decimated by COVID-19, and they are relying on strong rebound in tourist travel out of this pandemic for their very survival. So we should and must do everything we can to encourage tourism going forward. Too many businesses and too many jobs in fashion, in retail and further afield are at risk if we fail to do so.
I'm very sorry, but we